Anything you have opinions on Diddy? Have you had any experiences with Diddy?
No, just I knew him for a long time.
Nobody's seen more than I've seen. None of these fighters, none of these athletes. I'm the king of the barbarians. There's no one that could surpass me in the pain I've endured.
Mike Tyson was the most feared man in sports, a killer in the ring, ice in his eyes.
How did you feel about the guys you were in the ring with?
I wanted to kill them.
But when he sat next to Diddy during this now viral interview,
It truly is about the Benjamin, as we see.
Oh yes, he's glittering.
It truly is about the Benjamin.
Well, now when we come back, we're gonna talk more with Puffy, and if you want to hang out, more than welcome to stick around, my brother. All right, we'll be right back with more right after this.
he didn't just shift, he leaned forward. He grabbed Diddy's hand and moved it. And knowing what we know now, that footage hits completely different. People used to say nobody could intimidate Mike Tyson. But what made him react like that? You see, Mike Tyson isn't the type to just move out the way. He's not subtle, and neither is he soft. If something crosses a line, he says it, or shows it.
Do you have a problem? Turn off your station.
You know what? I think we'll end the discussion right now.
Then we could.
You got it.
So when a man like Tyson makes a move like that, calm, controlled, but clear, it says more than words ever could. No accusations and no drama, just one simple gesture. That might have revealed everything. Diddy's charm has always been his weapon. On the surface, he's a smooth-talking billionaire mogul with a magnetic personality. But if you listen to the people who've been close to him, people who were in the room, who did business with him, who saw him behind the scenes, they all hint at something darker, a pattern. One that isn't about business at all, but about control, humiliation, and testing how far he could go with the people around him. Nobody has been more relentless about exposing this than 50 Cent. For years, 50 has made a mission out of dragging Diddy's name into the light.
Okay, for now, focus here for a minute. Don't worry, their drama will keep going on. Think a little about yourself too. An Indonesian scientist has uncovered a shocking truth about belly fat, and it has nothing to do with diet or exercise. 95% of people who tried this strange bedtime ritual lost 25 pounds or more. Some even dropped over 50, all while sleeping. No gym, no starving, just one simple step before bed. It sounds crazy, but it's backed by science. Tap the link in the description and see for yourself.
He's joked about it. He's trolled him. But underneath all the humor is something that sounds a lot more like a warning. Back in 2014, 50 went on The Breakfast Club and brought up a moment where Diddy allegedly asked to take him shopping. Not as business partners, not for a brand collab, just the two of them, alone, shopping. 50 said it caught him completely off guard.
I get uncomfortable. Like he said something to me one time, a long time ago. At Chris Knighty's wedding, he told me he'd take me shopping. I looked at him like, what'd you just say?
That clip blew up. People laughed. But 50 didn't stop there. Over the years, he kept posting images and captions that made people ask real questions. He uploaded a photo of Diddy hugging record exec Steve Stout, both men smiling, Diddy in a pink shirt with the caption, "I ain't saying nothing, but something ain't right. LMAO." He posted another image of Diddy and Rick Ross performing together, timed perfectly so it looked like they were kissing. Again, the tone was funny, but the message was clear. 50 wasn't just clowning, he was calling it out. And 50 Cent wasn't alone. Jaguar Wright, the singer and whistleblower who's exposed countless industry secrets, took it a step further. She wasn't joking, she was testifying. In one interview, Jaguar claimed that Diddy had been using his position to manipulate men for decades. She told a story she says came directly from an ex-attorney who worked inside Bad Boy Records. The lawyer, according to Jaguar, walked into Diddy's office one day expecting to get paperwork signed, but the door wasn't locked. So she walked in and froze. Sitting in front of her, she saw Christopher Williams, an R&B artist known for hits like I'm Dreamin', allegedly performing oral S on Diddy. Jaguar says the attorney was stunned but stayed quiet. When she brought it up to Diddy later, his response wasn't shame or regret. Instead, Jaguar claims he told her,
He said, if I can make a man I can make people do anything for money. That's what you said, Puff.
let that sink in. That's not about preference. That's not about sexuality. That's about dominance. About putting people in situations they can't speak on. About doing something extreme, then daring you to say something. This is the same man who's been accused repeatedly of throwing parties where guests didn't know what they were walking into. The same man Gene Deal, Diddy's former head of security, claimed would use hidden cameras, isolate people at his events, and push them into situations that felt like traps. People thought they were coming to party. But once they stepped in the room, the vibe changed. Cameras, rooms with no windows, invitations that turned into obligations. So when you rewatch that Tyson interview, that exact moment where Tyson grabs Diddy's hand and moves it off his back, it doesn't feel random. It feels like a man reacting to a pattern he's seen before, like someone who's been around enough powerful men to know when something's off. Tyson didn't laugh. He didn't smile. He just adjusted, repositioned, and sent a clear message. He wasn't about to be part of that power game. And the people who've spoken up, 50, Jaguar, Gene, all say the same thing in different ways, that Diddy's playbook is about control. He doesn't force you in public. He tests you in private, pushes the line, sees if you'll say no, and if you don't, he owns you. That's the look Tyson gave on that set. Not of fear, not even anger, just awareness. The kind of awareness that comes from experience, and the kind of reaction you can't fake. Mike Tyson has always been unpredictable, violent in the ring, erratic outside of it. But through all the chaos, one thing stayed consistent. People didn't mess with him. He was the kind of man who made people nervous just by walking into a room. So when he pulled away from Diddy, subtly but deliberately, it struck a nerve with fans. Because Mike Tyson doesn't usually move like that. And when you look at his history, it's clear this moment didn't come out of nowhere. There's a reason the internet kept replaying that old fight clip. The one where Tyson shouted at a reporter during a post-fight meltdown.
Put your mother in a straight jacket, you punk white boy. Come here and tell me that if I you punk white boy.
He said it with a straight face, no hesitation. It wasn't trash talk. It was a psychological weapon, and it terrified people. But it also planted a question that's never fully gone away. Why did he go there? That wasn't a one-off. It was part of a longer pattern of behavior, one that's now being re-examined. Years later, on his own podcast, Hotboxin' with Mike Tyson, he interviewed rapper Boozy Badazz. What started as a discussion about music quickly turned tense when Tyson confronted Boozy about his history of homophobic comments, specifically about Dwayne Wade's daughter Zaya, who had come out as transgender. Tyson didn't hold back. In front of the cameras, he asked, "Why do you say things about people who might be homosexual? Why do you care what they do? Are you worried about yourself? Are you worried that you might be one?" Boozy looked stunned. Tyson didn't let up. "I think you might like homosexuals, and you think attacking them makes you less like them," he said. The conversation hit hard. Boozy tried to defend himself, saying his comments were about protecting kids. Tyson listened, and then dropped another bomb. "I used to be you." He said it calmly, no explanation, just those 5 words. And that's when fans started putting things together. Tyson wasn't just criticizing Boozy, he was identifying with him, as if to say, "I know what this kind of hatred really is. I know what it's covering up." Even Lil Nas X brought it up when he appeared on Tyson's show. He asked Tyson directly, had he ever been anti-gay? Tyson didn't dodge. He said yes. "I said a lot of ignorant-ish in the past, but I've had gay friends, a gay sister, a gay nephew. That's how I was raised. I didn't understand it back then." And in that moment, Tyson made something clear. He wasn't afraid to admit the complexity of his past. He didn't deny anything. He didn't try to distance himself from the speculation. He just accepted it. He never confirmed it. He never denied it either. Just like he never commented on the rumors about him and Diddy. Which brings us back to that interview clip, the one with Diddy's hand on the back of his chair. The way Tyson reacted isn't shocking anymore when you line it up with everything else. That wasn't a random gesture. That wasn't discomfort with touch. That was Mike Tyson, someone who's been through every kind of public and private chaos, removing himself from a moment that felt too familiar. A man who once bragged about dominance suddenly felt the need to create space. And if you understand how Tyson uses body language, how he dominates rooms without saying a word, then you understand exactly what that hand movement meant. He wasn't scared of Diddy. He was done playing along. Before the broken relationships, before the whispers, before that silent moment in the interview, Mike Tyson had everything. By the mid-90s, Tyson had earned more than $400 million. Some estimates even place it closer to $700 million. Through fight purses, endorsements, appearances, and licensing deals, he was a global icon, the baddest man on the planet. But within a few short years, he lost all of it. And he didn't just lose it in silence, he burned through it publicly. Tyson once said he would carry duffel bags with millions in cash, refusing to trust banks. He spent over $4 million on cars, more than $2 million on a golden bathtub, and at one point, owned 3 Bengal tigers that cost him $70,000 each, not including the $125,000 annual upkeep. He also bought multiple mansions, one of which had a full club inside it, complete with a dance floor, DJ booth, and cage dancers. Tyson was living like his money would never run out. And when advisors tried to warn him, he didn't want to hear it.
2003, you declared personal bankruptcy after making $300 million.
Yeah.
What happened?
Well, besides me having a lot of fun, I allowed people to be involved in my life that really wasn't honest people.
By the time he declared bankruptcy in 2003, Tyson was over $23 million in debt. He owed $13.4 million to the IRS, millions in legal fees, and even had unpaid jewelry bills. He had to auction off his homes, cars, and even fight for pennies just to keep the lights on. And while all that was happening, while Tyson was bleeding cash and drowning in lawsuits, Diddy was rising. This is where their paths crossed, not in friendship, but in power imbalance. At the same time, Tyson was auctioning off his mansion in Connecticut. Diddy was throwing infamous parties in New York and LA, events that have since become the subject of lawsuits, testimonies, and leaked security files. His name is now tied to multiple legal battles involving allegations of coercion, abuse, secret surveillance, and underground gatherings that were more about manipulation than music. People thought the parties were harmless, but the details coming out in court say otherwise. According to sworn affidavits, Diddy used a mix of intimidation and rewards to pull people in, especially those at rock bottom. Court filings reference private gatherings where guests were expected to leave phones at the door, sign NDAs, and in some cases, be filmed without their knowledge, hidden cameras, drugs, escorts, armed security. These weren't parties, they were power tests. And during Tyson's lowest years, he was in those rooms. That's what makes this so disturbing. When someone like Diddy sees desperation, he doesn't look away. He offers help, but help that comes with a price. And Tyson, stripped of wealth, public respect, and a stable circle, may have needed that help more than anyone. Jaguar wasn't exaggerating.
He said, if I can make a man I can make people do anything for money. That's what you said, Puff.
That's the kind of man Tyson was dealing with. And if you think that kind of mindset stayed in the shadows, think again. Gene Deal, Diddy's former bodyguard, later said that many of these parties were designed not for celebration, but for compromise. Diddy would test boundaries. introduce substances, create situations where guests felt obligated, intimidated, or simply too high to fight back. And according to Gene, those moments were often recorded. You might not even know the camera was on, but it was. So now think back to Tyson, broke, shamed, and trying to rebuild. If Diddy extended a hand, what was in that handshake? What was offered behind the scenes? And more importantly, what was expected in return? There's no public record of Tyson accusing Diddy of anything, but there's also no denial that he was in that world during the darkest period of his life. And in the middle of all this, in a studio full of cameras, he suddenly shifts in his chair, reaches back, grabs Diddy's hand from behind him, and puts it back on Diddy's own lap. It wasn't a joke. It wasn't flirtation. It was a reset, a boundary drawn in real time. And if that moment didn't make sense back then, it does now. Because when you line up Tyson's bankruptcy, Diddy's history of manipulating broken men, and the trial revelations that connect Diddy to blackmail, silent coercion, and underground control, the interview footage becomes more than awkward. It becomes evidence, and maybe that's why Tyson never said anything afterward. Because you don't speak out against someone who might still be holding the footage. You don't speak out against a man who helped you when you were vulnerable. If that help came with secrets attached, you just move his hand, fix your posture, and sit in silence, hoping the camera doesn't catch what really just happened. There's a reason this clip stood out. In a career filled with knockouts, scandals, and viral quotes, Mike Tyson had never looked quite like this. Calm, silent, calculated. He didn't explode. He didn't lash out. He simply leaned forward, took Diddy's hand from behind him, and placed it on Diddy's own leg. And that one motion, no words, no explanation, became one of the most telling moments in Tyson's recent history. This wasn't the first time Tyson had faced rumors about his sexuality or strange encounters in Hollywood. And it definitely wasn't the first time someone suggested Diddy had pushed boundaries in private. But it may have been the first time the power dynamic between the two played out in real time, on camera, for everyone to see. And what's wild is this: Tyson has spoken openly about almost everything else. He's talked about his trauma, his addiction, his prison time, his bankruptcy, his rage, his abuse. He's even spoken about transmitted diseases, mental health breakdowns, and his willingness to die in the ring. But about this, nothing. That silence isn't normal for Mike Tyson. It's strategic, because when Tyson does speak, he speaks without a filter. He's the kind of person who'll confront someone face to face, ask if they're gay on air, or cry on his own podcast. So when he says nothing about a moment like this, a moment that clearly wasn't part of the script, you have to start asking why. Maybe it's self-protection. Maybe he knows the cost of saying too much. Or maybe that moment was the message. In a world where Diddy's name is tied to lawsuits, sealed settlements, suspicious deaths, NDAs, blackmail claims, and a growing federal investigation, even the most famous men aren't exempt from the pressure. And if Tyson was ever pulled into that orbit, even briefly, the silence might not be fear, it might be survival. We've seen it before. Artists, execs, bodyguards, even lawyers who once worked with Diddy now say they kept quiet for years. Some say they were threatened. Others say they were paid. A few just vanished. The ones who have spoken out, like Jaguar Wright, Gene Deal, and others, didn't start talking until they felt untouchable. Tyson? He's not untouchable. Not like that. He may be legendary, respected, feared. But if Diddy's trial has revealed anything, it's that fame doesn't shield you from being used or violenced, which is why the interview moment matters so much. It wasn't some wild accusation. It wasn't a documentary or an expose. It was a reaction, a boundary being drawn with nothing but body language. And in that sense, it might be the most honest moment Tyson's ever given us. He didn't need to explain it. He just moved the hand. And that move said everything. Anyway, that's it for this video, folks. Bye.